After India's victory at Global Summit, Cabinet passes resolution congratulating Modi.
न्यू दिल्ली डिक्लेरेशन में आम सहमति बनाना ये अपने आप में दिखाता है कि भारत की बढ़ती ताकत नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व के कारण आज भारत ग्लोबल एजेंडा सेटिंग में अहम भूमिका निभा रहा है।
BJP throws grand G20 success party. Swag se swagat awaits Modi at BJP headquarters. PM hosts Gala dinner for Delhi police. BJP engulfs in G20 success bash. Our top focus at 5 Live.
So the BJP is going to be throwing a big gala celebration for the G20 victory that India has just landed over the weekend. Prime Minister Modi will be at the BJP party headquarters in the national capital in a short while from now, and we'll be taking you there live to show you what's happening. I'm Shiv, this is 5 Live, these are the headlines. Amidst mega Sanatan Dharm debate, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin slams the Prime Minister, says Modi ministers are spreading fake narratives. BJP pins the blame on the Congress, says Sonia Gandhi scripted the murder of Hinduism. A day before special parliament session, government calls for crucial all-party meeting on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Team India's key huddle in the national capital, seat-sharing pact and campaign strategy remains top focus for the upcoming 2024 battle. All the news breaks first and exclusive here on India Today. It's the year's biggest political story. Enforcement Directorate heat on Trinamool MP Abhishek Banerjee, Mamta's nephew, being grilled in connection with teacher recruitment scam. Trinamool, as always, alleges political vendetta. Big boost for Indian defence. Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary receives the first Airbus C295 transport aircraft from its manufacturing facility in Sevilla, Spain. 16 of these aircraft will be built and delivered from there. 40 more will be built in India, in Gujarat, in a partnership between Tata and Airbus. Well, the BJP is all set to throw a grand G20 victory bash at its headquarters this evening. It's being seen as the government's biggest diplomatic win in a very, very long time. And India Today's coverage told you everything you need to know about how India's leadership of the G20 is being celebrated all across the world as a huge victory. Well, the BJP, to which the Prime Minister belongs, the ruling party of this government, has decided it wants to throw its own celebration of what it sees is a historic milestone for Indian diplomacy. The BJP office, which I'm going to be taking you to live in just a moment, will be seeing a flurry of activity, and workers have planned a grand welcome for the Prime Minister, who's expected to arrive very shortly there. This is the BJP headquarters in the national capital. Other than meeting BJP workers, the Prime Minister will also be hosting a gala dinner as a gesture of thanks for the Delhi police. 450 Delhi police personnel who kept the city safe and flawless through the entire duration of the G20 will receive the Prime Minister's thanks over dinner tonight. They were all of them deployed on G20 duty. The BJP cadre will celebrate the G20 success in a big way to highlight the wins that India scored in this two-day summit and the fact that it managed to achieve global consensus in the Delhi Declaration. This is something which is being seen as a major diplomatic victory. The Tiranga will also be hoisted at the new parliament. Remember, on Prime Minister Modi's birthday on September the 17th, that is this Sunday. Okay, joining me live from the BJP headquarters where the celebration is going to be kicking off a little while from now. We have with us Akshita Nandagopal, Poulomi Saha and Aishwarya Paliwal. Akshita, quickly coming to you first. Are the crowds there yet? We're hearing that the Prime Minister should be there around 6 p.m. What are you hearing?
That's right, Shiv. Just about 1 hour to go for the Prime Minister to get here at the BJP headquarters. Let me just show you what's happening. You've got huge crowds that have gathered, largely BJP workers, and many of them have told me that they've come from different parts of the country for this very event to thank the Prime Minister for the success of the G20 Summit. You can see the BJP flag flying high here. There's a lot of music, song and dance that's playing out in the air as well. Essentially, it's time for celebration. After all the hard work that's gone into the G20 Summit, what you're seeing right now is Modi, Modi chants ringing in the air here at the BJP headquarters. The mood is upbeat, Shiv. Now, the Prime Minister is expected to come here at about 6 this evening. And once he reaches here, he's going to be walking right past. There's a CEC meet that's expected to happen here. I know a lot of us were expecting that he was going to be, addressing the nation, speaking at the BJP headquarters like he usually does in these kind of massive celebratory events. But we're being told that's not the case. The Prime Minister will make his way inside for the CEC meet. I've seen senior BJP leaders, former Chief Minister Yediyurappa, who also made his way inside for the CEC huddle that will take place. But right up till he reaches, and even after that, you're going to be seeing a mood of celebration here at the BJP headquarters. All of them waiting behind me just to catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister, to send out their message of thank you. He's going to be waving by, acknowledging their support, and then making his way inside for the CEC meet, Shiv.
Go through what the agenda is going to look like. Poulomi has been tracking all the political developments leading up to this big celebration today. Poulomi, what does the BJP have lined up? They've got, their cadres are going to assemble there in a big way. I'm sure all the big leaders are going to be there as well. What are you hearing? What does the schedule look like once the Prime Minister arrives?
Well, there's a grand celebration, of course, that the BJP has planned. Thousands of cadres and party workers have gathered at the BJP headquarters where Akshita and Aishwarya are to welcome and felicitate Prime Minister Modi. And earlier this morning, of course, the cabinet met. That was the cabinet meeting for the first time since, of course, the culmination of the G20 Summit over the weekend. And the cabinet passed a resolution proposed by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh that congratulated Prime Minister Modi on the success of the G20 Summit that the world is lauding. So now, of course, it will be the party which will celebrate this, huge achievement of the countries and, of course, the government of India's, where all world leaders, in fact, applauded the way India, of course, conducted its presidency of the G20 over the past year. So the Prime Minister will be there. He will, of course, acknowledge, all the felicitations and the celebrations that the BJP party workers are holding. Like Akshita was pointing out, there is a Central Election Committee meeting which is to happen later this evening, for which he is in fact arriving at the BJP headquarters. So all the CEC members, that is the top leadership of the Bharatiya Janata Party, will already be there, present over there, to in fact accord that welcome to Prime Minister Modi. They lead from the front and the party workers will join from behind.
Okay, very interesting. Aishwarya is also on the ground. She also tracked not just the entire G20 from the Bharat Mandapam, but she's also there at the BJP headquarters now. Looks like the celebration isn't going to end anytime soon. Aishwarya, the Prime Minister is going to be there at 6 p.m. I'm assuming he's going to speak. We don't know yet. What are you hearing? And also that big gala dinner, such a lovely gesture of thanks for the Delhi police.
Well, obviously, we have known Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be doing these things that usually politicians do not do. But, the chants, just, let me go across to the chants, Modi, Modi chants being done here. All these, obviously, are enthusiastic Bharatiya Janata Party supporters. The idea now, Shiv, is to make sure that everyone understands, Har Ghar G20 is something that, the BJP is now trying to do. Huge posters of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the top leaders of the world there have been plastered on the walls of the BJP headquarters. So celebrations on, the BJP flag also being hoisted there. So people are in full celebratory mode. All of them are now waiting to catch a glimpse of their beloved leader. That is the Prime Minister of the country, Narendra Modi.
Akshita, 6 p.m. is when the Prime Minister is set to arrive, we're hearing. Is that right? 6 p.m.?
That's That's right, Shiv. So just about 50 minutes from now is when you can also expect that the Prime Minister will be here. But the mood is upbeat in the meanwhile here. You can hear a lot of slogan area. Let me just show you what's happening around here as well. You can see a lot of people chanting slogans. Let's go in here and talk to them as well. आप प्रधानमंत्री देखने के लिए आए हो?
हम लोग मोदी जी का स्वागत करने के लिए यहाँ पे आए हैं। हम लोग गाजियाबाद से आए हैं। बहुत बड़ी संख्या में कार्यकर्ता, जैसे ही पता चला कि कार्यालय आने वाले हैं, हम सब लोग स्वतः ही अपने सब लोग मित्रगण उनका स्वागत करने के लिए यहाँ पर आ गए हैं।
आप सब ने क्या सोचा G20 समिट के बारे में? क्या आपको लगा है कि ये बहुत बड़ा सक्सेस था G20?
हम लोग अपनी भावनाओं से, अपने मन से उनका स्वागत करने आए हैं। मोदी जी ने जो जितना बड़ा काम किया है, पूरे विश्व में आज मोदी जी का डंका बजा। आज हम कार्यकर्ता बहुत प्रसन्न हैं।
Okay, so you can hear all the slogan hearing that's happening around me of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Jai Shri Ram Shiv. So there's a festive atmosphere all around me. You saw those gentlemen who just come in from Ghaziabad. There are several such groups and I'll take you to a group of women who are here, female BJP कार्यकर्तास who are here. आप कहाँ से आए हैं? आप प्रधानमंत्री आ जाइए, यहाँ पे आ जाइए। अच्छा, आप बताइए पहले हमको कि आपने क्यों आए हैं यहाँ पे और क्या संदेश देना चाहते हैं प्रधानमंत्री को?
मोदी जी ने जिस तरह इतिहास में अपना नाम कमाया है, इतिहास तो अपने आप को दोहराता है, ये दोहराया नहीं, ट्रिपल करके दिया है। इसलिए मोदी जी हैं तो मुमकिन है। ये जिंदगी में आने वाली बुलाए बनी चीजें नहीं है। ऐसा कोई न्यूर का हीरा ना कभी था, ना कभी होगा, ना कभी है। ये ऐसे अनमोल हीरे जो हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री बन के हैं। तभी तो कहते हैं ए वतन हमको तेरी कसम, तेरी राहों में आदत लुटा जाएंगे। फूल क्या चीज है तेरे कदमों में, हम एक अपनी सिलों के चला जाएंगे। ए वतन, ए वतन, ए वतन।
Thank you so much. Thank you. So you can see here, Shiv, not the best of singers, but hey, their spirit is, soaring as you can see there. Nothing stopping them. They're all celebrating. All of them chanting 20 saal ke liye Modi ji, and saying, that they're tremendously proud by what we've achieved at the G20 Summit. Obviously, it's also turning political, isn't it, here? With the elections coming up, the BJP using this as a platform to celebrate, to send out the message that this is because of the Modi government that we've seen this kind of spectacular success at the G20 Summit. And they're pulling all stops, Shiv, to ensure that, you've got the Prime Minister entering into the BJP headquarters to a huge pomp and show here.
Very, very interesting. Aishwarya, the mood at the BJP headquarters, is a very familiar one. The next stop, as far as all of us journalists is concerned, of course, is going to be that special session. And Polomi and I yesterday had put together a full show that's being widely talked about because a lot of those theories are doing the rounds. So this will be that final celebration before the big politics begins. The India Alliance is also meeting. They've got their big meetings. And after this, the big countdown to that special session begins. All party meeting on Sunday, special session begins on Monday. Aishwarya.
Well, Shiv, one of the biggest questions that everyone, in fact, has been asking, especially the opposition parties, and that's why we saw how Sonia Gandhi also wrote a letter saying that you need to tell us what will be the agenda. So all those things will obviously kickstart, not just from Monday, that will be the first day of this special session, but from Sunday itself, we will now have to wait and watch what the opposition says about the celebration and also about the special session. But yes, all the eyes are keenly now on what will be the agenda as far as the special session is concerned. Many theories doing rounds. We will have to wait and watch because on the 18th it will be clear. From what we are understanding from our sources at the moment, there will be a shift from the old building to the new building, an auspicious day. That is the 19th of September. Ganesh Chaturthi Day has been, so far being taken. That will be the day when they will be moving. The historic move will take place on the 19th from the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. There will be politics galore. What the BJP is also expecting, Shiv, let me tell you that they know that once this celebration gets over, then the opposition, they are expecting some of the opposition people to even tweet about the celebration that will take place at the BJP headquarters today.
Polami, one final question to you before we move on, because we're going to wait for the Prime Minister to land at 6. Do we know who else is going to be there? I'm assuming all the bigwigs are going to be there at 6 p.m. when the Prime Minister arrives?
Absolutely. All the members, in fact, of the Central Election Committee led by BJP President JP Nadda will be felicitating Prime Minister Modi as he arrives at the BJP headquarters. Remember that the CEC is meeting for the second time today in order to finalize possibly a second list for Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. So already the BJP is in election mode. It has pulled out a first list already even before the dates have been announced, which is pretty unusual, which only tells you that the Prime Minister and the BJP is already working on election mode, and the Prime Minister himself will be in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh tomorrow. So while he's already talking assembly elections 2023 end of the year, he will be at the BJP headquarters, and members of the Central Election Committee, which of course includes top leaders like Rajnath Singh, like Amit Shah, JP Nadda, of course, will be leading that delegation which will felicitate Prime Minister Modi.
Okay, interesting. We're going to leave it there for the moment, and we'll come back to our reporters, Polami, Akshita and Aishwarya, as soon as there's some more action happening on the ground. But remember that the Prime Minister is expected there at about 6 p.m, but it could happen earlier as well. So we've got our cameras primed. You won't miss a thing here on India Today. Let me just refresh your memories, viewer, even though it just happened over the weekend, about what those big G20 wins really were for India. What is being celebrated? Why is this such a big deal? Number one, global consensus in the Delhi Declaration has never happened before on such contentious issues like the Ukraine war, on debt restructuring, on refinancing the world, the global south and climate change. Number two, major global powers towing India's line on Ukraine and the contentious issue of climate, in which China, after the Bali Declaration last year at the G20, had actually retracted. Number three, China has failed to derail India's flagship agenda. China tried its best. They didn't send their president, but nothing happened. India still succeeded. Number four, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which by many accounts is actually the biggest takeaway from what has happened at the G20, because this is an enormous, far-reaching trade route that India is going to create with the help of the United States, UAE, several other countries, and the European Union, and is going to be a game changer that competes with China. India gets the African Union on board the G20 during its presidency. There is no underplaying or underestimating the significance of that one move that India has made possible. Number six, India has emerged as a champion of developing nations, a representative of the global south, putting the spotlight on the global south and leadership, and urging more reforms in multilateral fora like the United Nations Security Council. India's rise as a global power, the global spotlight also on Indian culture, which can never be underplayed. We saw it through Nalanda, the Konarak Chakra, and elsewhere. I wanted to play for you before we wait for the Prime Minister to arrive at the BJP headquarters, so I can take you there live in a moment. Here's an excerpt of an exclusive conversation, the first interview that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar gave to India Today's Rahul Kanwal, where he spoke in great detail about how Prime Minister Modi played a huge personal role in ensuring a successful G20. Listen in.
What was happening in the real world, if you would, was also that at various levels, the Sherpa and the Sherpa's team were talking. I was talking to my counterparts at certain points of play where required. Prime Minister himself came in. So we also knew that in many ways, a lot of countries were invested in the G20. They were invested in the presidency of the G20, in the current presidency of the G20. And that gave me a lot of confidence that, look, at the end of the day, there would be a desire on everybody's part. There were still issues which needed to be resolved, and in some cases I had to ask him, saying, it'd be good if you could speak to your counterpart. And
he did that?
Yes, he did that. I mean, I can put it both ways. I think the declaration also happened because his stature had gone up. Yeah. When he sort of brought up the issue with some of his counterparts, the fact that this was Prime Minister Modi himself bringing up the issue, I think definitely had an impact on his counterpart. So to the extent that we actually got the G20 to focus on the global south, to look at today's world and its problems in a particular way, I would say that in itself was one achievement. And there are other issues. I mean, there are fundamental issues about the inequity of the current global order. So here is India, you have an east-west issue, you have a north-south issue. So it was also in some ways a test of our ability to forge a consensus, to find a common landing point. And then it was for ourselves, you could say a self-imposed or a self-set way of testing ourselves, that today, in the past we've always done any gathering in a very kind of sarkari, bureaucratic way. Can we do it differently? Can we take it out to the rest of the country? Can we link it to what is happening in societies? Can we make people feel that yes, this is an event or a responsibility in which I too have some connection? And I think in terms therefore of the agenda, in terms of the bridge building, in terms of the manner in which it was done, I think each one of them was a significant step forward to us. So certainly to me, Indian foreign policy or Indian diplomacy post G20 looks, I would say there are good reasons to be satisfied with it. I've been doing G20s, barring one when I was not in the government, since Antalya in 2015. And I would say in all honesty, this is not a self-serving statement. This has been the most substantive G20. Just look, I mean, forget the verbiage, all the excitement about it. Today, we have actually brought the globe, the focus on global south, very badly needed. We have today shown the spotlight on the fact that sustainable development goals have fallen behind and we need an action plan to do it. We have actually highlighted the need for a green development pact, and that you need, there's no point talking about sustainability and the environment if you're not prepared to resource it. Now, to resource it, we have also pushed for a reform of the multilateral development banks. And the idea, and again, this G20 I think was very, very powerful in terms of highlighting the digital public infrastructure. And, in many ways, you spoke about the chatter. I would say the maximum chatter there was actually about Chandrayaan.
Really?
Yeah. It came up in almost...
Give an extra spring to your step?
I think it gave an extra spring to the entire nation's step. Look, in some way, almost every leader in their remarks, in their interactions, it's had a huge kind of, I would say, their mind space today. It's really kind of pinged that radar.
And the timing was perfect.
Well, we were fortunate.
Well, the G20 summit that's going to be celebrated by the BJP at its headquarters in a moment from now was a roaring success as India managed to build an unprecedented consensus on the Delhi Declaration and also included the African Union. Here's a quick recap before I take you back live to our reporters at the BJP headquarters.
हमारी टीम्स के हार्डवर्क से और आप सभी के सहयोग से नई दिल्ली G20 लीडर्स समिट डिक्लेरेशन पर सहमति बनी है.
It was a difficult and ambitious target, but the 18th G20 was successful in all its parameters.
डिक्लेरेशन को भी एडप्ट किया जाए.
It set the agenda for the divided world and taught it to live together with individual differences.
First of all, please allow me to thank Prime Minister Modi faithful to its principles, India did its utmost for its presidency of the G20 to serve unity and peace and send across a message of unity while Russia is still waging its war of aggression in Ukraine.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank India for a gracious and a very successful term presidency. I would like to thank His Excellency Prime Minister Modi for the gracious hospitality that was shown to my personal self, my spouse, and my entire Turkish delegation.
When the world couldn't be brought together to agree on a conflict, when the war in Ukraine polarized the world, the 18th G20 president showed the world how to address the crisis from the point of view of the affected.
सबका साथ की भावना से ही भारत ने प्रस्ताव रखा था कि अफ्रीकन यूनियन
55 countries association, the African Union was voted as the new permanent member to the group because Africa, consisting of the most members of the global south, is reeling from the after effects of war in Ukraine.
आप सबकी सहमति से मैं अफ्रीकन यूनियन के अध्यक्ष को G20 के स्थायी सदस्य के रूप में अपना स्थान ग्रहण करने के लिए आमंत्रित करता हूं.
When the dragon threatens the world with its nefarious financial aid as loan, India as G20 president set the agenda on multilateral development banks for relief. But the bigger headline internationally was the development of a new ship and rail corridor connecting India to the Middle East and the Mediterranean Sea, challenging China's economic clout in the region, and its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative.
As a key part of this corridor, we're going to invest in ships and rail that extends from India all the way to Europe, connected by the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. Bridging ports across two continents, unlocking endless opportunities, including making it far easier to trade, export clean energy.
Vishwaguru has taught the world to be green and clean as the Delhi Declaration reiterated the 2070 climate goal of reaching net zero target. Brazil has a tall task lying ahead, carrying on the baton as the new president of G20 from India. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the world's been talking about the big success of India's G20 summit, but a controversy has been brewing around the cost of hosting the summit. A Trinamool MP claimed that the government of India had spent 4,100 crores on the event. Well, India Today's anti-fake news war room did a deep dive, revealing that the claim is grossly misleading. Take a look.
A resounding international success, but the G20 hosted in New Delhi has stirred political controversy at home due to its expenses. Opposition parties, the Trinamool Congress and the Congress, have accused the government of massive overspending to make the G20 summit happen. Allegations of a 300% cost overrun with 4,100 crore rupees spent instead of the original 990 crore budget allocated for the event have been making headlines. India Today's fact-check team, however, has found these accusations to be misleading.
Experts are very clear that there is no way the cost of construction of Bharat Mandapam can be clubbed with G20 cost. The reason being, the infrastructure is going to be used for decades to come and is also likely to earn rental incomes. They say that only advertisements and decoration at the venue can be clubbed with the cost of G20.
When we delve into the numbers, the 4,100 crore rupee price tag placed on the entire G20 event appears grossly deceptive and misleading. According to several media reports, the centre allocated over 990 crore rupees towards organising the event under India's G20 presidency. But a tweet by Union Minister Meenakshi Lekhi on September the 4th seems to have sparked the controversy. She shared a document titled City Improvement in the Area primarily used by G20 delegates, which totaled around 4,110 crore rupees. Upon closer examination, however, India Today's fact-check team found that 88% of the total amount mentioned in the document actually went into building permanent infrastructure. In other words, capital expenditure on the ITPO or the Bharat Mandapam complex at New Delhi's Pragati Maidan. Further research revealed that the redevelopment and revamping of this ultra-modern complex was conceived way back in 2017 at a budget of 2,254 crore rupees. An additional 800 crore rupees was allocated for decongestion of roads and building tunnels in and around Pragati Maidan. Experts argue that it's misleading to include the cost of permanent structures like Bharat Mandapam in the G20 Summit event expenses, especially when such complexes will be utilized for many years and decades to come.
4,100 करोड़ का अगर बाइफर्केशन हम लोग देखें तो इसमें 3,600 करोड़ रुपया केवल जो भारत मंडपम जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट हुआ है, जो कन्वेंशन सेंटर बना है, इसमें खर्च हुआ है। जो कैपिटल एसेट्स जो क्रिएट हुई है, जिसका 3,600 करोड़ रुपया वैल्यूएशन लगाया जा रहा है, तो ये फ्यूचर में भी हमें रेंटल्स देगा। और जिस तरीके से विज्ञान भवन भारत में बना हुआ है, दिल्ली में बना हुआ है विज्ञान भवन रेंटल पर प्राइवेट सेक्टर को भी दिया जाता है और सरकारी प्रोग्राम भी होते हैं, उसी तरीके से भारत मंडपम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो क्रिएट हुआ है, ये फ्यूचर में भी रेंटल देगा। तो इसको खर्चा मान लेना अनुचित है।
The G20 Sherpa, Amitabh Kant, insists that the actual spending is even lower than the approved budget and that the government will soon release the actual figures.
It is being compiled by our logistic division. It's everybody will get to know what is the expenditure. There's an approval and the expenditure is less than the approval line.
Claims of overspending not as straightforward as they seem. The full picture of G20 expenses will become clear once the official breakdown is released in totality. With Balkrishna, this is India Today's Fact Check team.
And as we stand by now for the Prime Minister's arrival at the BJP headquarters, which we'll be getting to you live as soon as he reaches. Up next, after this break, I'm quickly also showing you how it's a big day for the Indian Air Force. They've just taken delivery of their first Airbus C-295 military transport aircraft. The Air Chief is in Spain to take delivery. It's a historic deal, and I'll tell you more about it on the other side.
There's a Nipah virus update that has come. 2 people in Kozhikode district of the state have succumbed to the Nipah virus disease. The Kerala Health Minister Veena George has updated us and has said that the government is stepping up all effort. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has urged citizens not to panic but face the situation with caution. And remember, this had happened earlier as well, and Kerala successfully battled it. Take a look at this report about what does it look like this time.
They may host it. Another ominous virus that can jump from animals like these bats to humans through direct contact or contaminated food. The Nipah virus has sent Kerala on high alert. Kozhikode in the southern state has reported 2 deaths from this pathogen.
2 लोगों का निपा वायरस से डेथ कंफर्म हुआ है। हमारी भी एक्सपर्ट टीम केरला में पहुंचे हैं। अभी 4 पेशेंट सस्पेक्टेड है, उसका सैंपल लेके एनआईवी पुणे, नेशनल वायरोलॉजी इंस्टीट्यूट पुणे में भेजा गया है और वहाँ जो गवर्नमेंट मेडिकल कॉलेज है वहाँ कौन से प्रिकॉशन लेना, ये सारी व्यवस्था, उसके लिए अलग से पीपीई किट सारा भेज दिया गया है।
The Nipah virus has the ability to infect a range of animals before making its way to humans. Symptoms include cough, aches, fatigue, and even encephalitis, a dangerous swelling of the brain that can lead to seizures and death. This pathogen is among the top 10 diseases of their kind, posing the greatest risk to human health, alongside COVID-19. A virus that serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing threats posed by infectious diseases. Staying informed and vigilant is paramount. Bureau Report, India Today. Rishi Sunak, the first UK Prime Minister of an Indian origin, is also a proud Hindu. The British Prime Minister, who was spotted wearing Rakhis during the G20 Summit, visited the Akshardham temple in Delhi along with his wife Akshita Murthy on Sunday. Sunak, who arrived in India on Friday for the 18th G20 Summit, expressed his deep connect to Hinduism.
Yeah, so I'm a proud Hindu, and that's how I was raised. That's how I am. And yes, we've just had Raksha Bandhan, so from my sister and my cousins, I have all my Rakhis, and I didn't have time to celebrate Janmashtami properly. It's something that is important to me. I think faith is something that helps everybody who has faith in their lives.
The couple, who were received by Union Minister Ashwini Kumar Chaubey on Friday, were greeted with Jai Siya Ram. They were also gifted Rudraksh, a copy of Bhagavad Gita, and a Hanuman Chalisa.
Jai Siya Ram.
This isn't the first time Sunak has openly embraced Hinduism. He had visited the Hindu spiritual leader Murari Bapu in Cambridge for his 921st recital, titled Manas Vishwavidyalaya.
इतनी सबल राजपीठ पर बैठे हुए होते ही इतनी सरलता मैंने कम राजनेताओं में देखी है। जिस तरह वो गए और बच्चों से मिल रहे थे, लोगों को मिल रहे थे, ये जो है, ये उसका बहुत बहुत अच्छा पहलू है।
And what I see Bapu does each day of his life.
Sunak addressed a gathering of people of Indian origin. He said his faith guides him in every aspect of his life.
Always be an inspirational figure.
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful.
After the 2017 general elections, he swore his oath to Parliament upon the sacred Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita. As per British media reports, Sunak always keeps an idol of Sri Ganesh on his table. He earlier made an appeal to give up eating beef and claimed he has consumed it. Sunak was also seen performing Gau Puja in London. The video, which went viral, was shot when the 42-year-old visited a cow enclosure along with his wife Akshata Murthy, the daughter of Infosys founder N.R. Narayana Murthy. A practitioner of Hinduism and the first British Prime Minister of Indian descent, Sunak is not leaving his culture and values behind. Bureau Report, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
In a major boost to the Indian Air Force, which has desperately needed new generation military transport aircraft, the Indian Air Force's Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary was in Spain today to take the delivery of the first of 56 Airbus C295 transport aircraft. These are new generation planes, 16 of which are going to be built in Spain at this Airbus facility where you see the Indian Air Force Chief climbing into the aircraft, and the other 40 will be made in India as part of a partnership between the Tata Group and Airbus in a milestone project, the first of its kind in which a private sector company will be building military aircraft for the Indian Air Force. Now, this is a project that runs into thousands of crores. The images are amazing. The Air Force Chief is justifiably proud to take delivery of something that has taken a long time to fructify. But here on India Today, we're also proud because I was the only TV journalist who was in Spain right at this same facility just in July to bring you this report about the very same aircraft that's been handed over to the Air Force today. We're here in Sevilla in Spain at an Airbus assembly facility to see something that Indian journalists are seeing for the first time. That is the first C295 aircraft for the Indian Air Force. This aircraft is the first one that's been built by Airbus, a part of 16 such aircraft that are going to be built at this sprawling facility and delivered very soon. This particular aircraft is going to be delivered in just the next few weeks to the Indian Air Force, after which 15 more such aircraft will be built at this precise facility in Sevilla in Spain for delivery to the Indian Air Force. So I'm walking around the aircraft. It's a first look at C295 number 1 for the Indian Air Force. It's going to be fulfilling a long-standing need that's been felt by the Indian Air Force for over a decade. It was a requirement to replace the old vintage British HS-748 Avro aircraft. I'm walking around the first C295 now under the tail area of this aircraft. The important thing about the C295, remember, isn't the fact that the first 16 are going to be built here in Spain. And here on India Today, we've gotten first access to the aircraft also because something very important is taking place back in India. 16 of these aircraft are going to be built here in Spain, but the other 40, as many of you will know if you've been watching India Today and my show, is that the other 40 are going to be built in Vadodara at a Tata facility. These aircraft will have their technology transferred by Airbus to their partner Tata, and then Tata becomes the first Indian private sector company to build military aircraft for the Indian Armed Forces. The Indian Air Force operates aircraft like the AN-32. The Avros, of course, are being phased out, but these aircraft are going to be fulfilling an extremely crucial need. Remember, the Air Force operates aircraft for many different things, but its transport aircraft are crucial because India is geographically large. We've got all kinds of terrain. This particular aircraft is capable of landing on unprepared surfaces. It's designed for operations of high altitude areas, which is a particularly difficult thing, in aviation because of the thin atmosphere and the various other challenges. And remember, India has important crucial air bases at high altitude, whether it is Leh, whether it is Thois. The world's highest military airfield, which is Daulat Beg Oldi, is also in India. And the aircraft of this kind has been proven to be able to operate from such forbidding locations. Now, 56 aircraft of this kind will be built for the Indian Air Force. That number might go up because the Indian Air Force, apart from replacing its old Avros, also has to replace over 100 AN-32 aircraft. And AN-32s, remember, are of Ukrainian origin. Great aircraft, they're workhorses of the Indian Air Force, but they are also aging and will need to be replaced by new generation transport aircraft of the kind that the C-295 is. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen, but with an Indian factory churning out these aircraft between now and 2031, it stands to reason that this very same aircraft should actually replace the AN-32. Apart from the Indian Air Force's own requirement, this is a very versatile aircraft in the sense it's not just a transport aircraft. Look at it as a bit of a Swiss Army knife. It depends on what you put into it. You can sling on a maritime radar, it becomes a maritime patrol aircraft. Very much like what the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard are looking at. About 15 aircraft in total is what they're looking at. It can be used for land surveillance if you put on the right kind of sensor. The Border Security Force is looking for that kind of capability. If you add passenger seats, you can convert it into a short-haul regional airliner. India needs many hundreds of those kind of things. If you add anti-submarine sensors and a torpedo capability, it can become an anti-submarine aircraft. If you put a radar on its back, it can become an airborne early warning platform. So what I mean is it's very modular. It depends on what you want to do with the aircraft, and it can be used for all these different kinds of purposes. So if you have a production line for the C-295 in India, it becomes something very useful for India's different and very disparate needs across different terrains. So it's historic in all kinds of ways because the C-295 not only fulfills all these needs, but gives India an aircraft manufacturing capability in the private sector which has never been there before. Airbus has had a long relationship with India, but this is for the first time that such an ambitious and landmark project is being executed. 56 of these aircraft being built 100%, almost 100% in India by the end of the entire program. In Sevilla, Spain, this is Shiv Aroor for India Today. And a key India alliance meeting is currently underway in Delhi. In fact, at NCP Chief Sharad Pawar's residence in the national capital. Round 1 of the coordination panel meeting is currently underway, and these are pictures from that particular meeting that you see here on your screen. The seat sharing, the tricky issue of seat sharing among all these opposition parties under the India alliance is the big agenda and also the sticking point. We've seen divergences between many of the parties, whether it is versus the AAP versus the Congress, or the Congress versus the Trinamool, left versus Congress, left versus Trinamool, etc., etc. There are many divergences, but this meeting, the India Alliance, remember, has decided that through a coordinated series of meetings, the agenda of seat sharing will be ironed out in coordination with all of these parties. They are also chalking out their campaign strategy for 2024. I want to take you straight to our man on the ground, Amit Bharadwaj, who's outside Sharad Pawar's residence, where this meeting is taking place right now. Amit, it's a difficult task on hand for the India Alliance, but they have expressed their commitment to ironing out all those issues, and that is the reason why this meeting taking place in Sharad Pawar's residence, where you're reporting from right now, is very important, Amit.
Right, Shiv. We know for a matter of fact that after a couple of rounds of meeting between the top leadership of the opposition parties, of 26 opposition parties, it was decided in Mumbai that two committees will be formed. One, the campaign committee, the other the coordination committee to take decisions in regards to the India bloc. alliance, the campaign agenda, the agenda to hit the Modi government or even to hold rallies. And right now, right behind me is Sharad Pawar's residence where the meeting is going on. What we must tell our viewers, Shiv, is that this is full attendance. Now, 14 members are part of the coordination committee. TMC has not sent the name for the coordination committee yet. Abhishek Banerjee is busy with the ED summon in Kolkata. Rest of 12 members have already attended, are inside that meeting. In fact, the visuals that we are showing to our viewers, there is one addition to that particular visual is that Hemant Soren, Jharkhand Chief Minister, as well as JMM's Executive President, has reached Sharad Pawar's residence just a few minutes back. There were a lot of speculations as to whether he'll be able to make it to this meeting or not, considering the fact that Shibu Soren is not in his best of health and is admitted at Gangaram, but even Hemant Soren has reached here. So we'll have to see as to whether the strategy in regards to the poll agenda, the big rallies that India Bloc is planning, that is chalked out, and whether the strategy for the special parliament session will be chalked out in this particular meeting as well. Back to you, Shiv.
Okay, and this is the first of many, I assume, Amit. It's not obviously going to all be ironed out in one meeting, but that first meeting will set the mood, because the two meetings that have happened before this, where all the members have had a chance to spend time with each other, the body language has been right. They've sent out a message of unity as well. Now it's time to get down to the nuts and bolts of this partnership.
Right, Shiv, this is the crucial part, because remember, there are a lot of issues that one or the other alliance partner might not be very comfortable with.
Yeah.
So all those issues have to be ironed out. As you pointed out in the beginning of the conversation itself about seat sharing, that is very important agenda, and parties such as TMC is pushing hard, telling that, you have to actually decide the seat sharing. It's already very late. If you are going for a full-fledged alliance campaign, then this is the main issue which needs to be sorted out. So sooner or later, the India Bloc will have to sort this out. Now, we are also learning from our sources that there's a higher possibility that at state level, the parties could be also told to sort it out. One candidate versus BJP, that's the ideal formula that they are looking at.
Okay.
So seat sharing could, we might see that there's certain delay on that part, but other issues, including the big rallies and the agendas that were decided by the campaign committee, that could be also discussed in today's meeting, and some sort of decision can be taken today.
Okay, we'll come back to you live, Amit, as soon as that meeting is over and get an update for you. Thanks very much for getting us that word from right outside Sharad Pawar's residence. Very important meeting by the Opposition India Alliance on the road to 2024. Remember, we will completely update you on all those big stories. That's a wrap on 5 Live. Thanks for watching, but don't go away, because 6 p.m. Prime broadcasts live from the BJP headquarters in the national capital, where the Prime Minister will be arriving any minute now for a big G20 celebration. Live show from there with Akshita next.
Is all well in Chinese President Xi Jinping's government? There is rising alarm with China's Defense Minister Li Shangfu missing for the past 14 days. Li Shangfu was last seen in public on August 29 when he addressed the China-Africa Forum in Beijing, according to media reports. There is no official word from Beijing on the whereabouts of the Chinese Defense Minister, but there is some chatter on Chinese social media about action being taken against the Defense Minister in connection with corruption-related investigations.
In a country like China, which is so centrally controlled, all this could lead to a great deal of instability, and that would be worrisome not only for the people in China itself, but also its neighbors, keeping in view the expansionist policies that China has been following with respect to the territory of its neighbors, as also in the South China Sea.
Such is the curiosity that the US ambassador to Japan, Raham Emanuel, took to social media platform X to post, President Xi's cabinet lineup is now resembling Agatha Christie's novel, and then there were none. First the foreign minister, Chin Gung, goes missing, then the rocket force commanders go missing, and now the defense minister, Li Shangfu, hasn't been seen in public for 2 weeks. Who's going to win this unemployment race? China's youth or Xi's cabinet? Hashtag mystery in Beijing building. The developments are being closely monitored, not just in China's neighborhood, but across the world.
The G20 Summit in India was going on. Dramatic political developments took place in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Chandrababu Naidu is jailed, arrested under corruption charges, and violent protest viewers have broken out across the state of Andhra Pradesh as TDP workers held protest against the arrest of its chief and former Andhra Pradesh